aren't the droids we're looking for.
I got a bad feeling about this.
It's them! Blast them!
Hello everybody and welcome back to another Tactics Talk episode. Today we are going to be covering part 3 of GAR, including support and the heavy units slot. With that being said, if you're just tired of waiting and you want to know the full thing right when we get to these, go ahead and check out our Patreon. If you'd like to not wait for part 1, 2, and 3, you can get the whole thing right off the rip and exclusive access to our members. Make sure to like and subscribe as we continue on with this. Super excited today to continue talking about my favorite faction of the game. All right, so kicking it off, we have the new ATRT coming in with red saves, armor 2, a climbing vehicle, expert climber, scout 1, 3 red in melee, 2 white, 2 black on a rocket launcher that just comes with it. 6 health for till it breaks, and then surge to hit and no surging on red defense dice. It is speed 2. So with a big base and scout 1, this thing can move up the table very quickly. It has a couple of different heavy weapons options or just weapons options. Flamethrower, ATRT laser cannon, and the rotary blaster. I think the rotary blaster is just straight up bad. Wouldn't take it if I were you. Makes the thing too expensive and you can find better dice pools on cheaper units. Flamethrower is pretty good. Especially with all the speed this thing has, it can make it very good. ATRT laser cannon is by far just the most simple, consistent one, and coming in at 10 points is pretty solid. ATRT is just kind of basic, as dumb as that sounds, but it's a solid, reliable support option for GAR. I think it feels really good for its cost, and I don't want to call it overpriced, but I think a big problem with GAR vehicles is a lot like those Wookiees we talked about in last video. They just can't share tokens, and that just makes them feel worse to me, because if I could put like surges on these dudes for defense, it would be disgusting. And it's probably a good thing that I can't, but that makes me a little less liable to love these guys. However, I am going to give them a solid B. I think that's a good grade for them. I think the flamethrower option can be fantastic. Scouting and just double moving towards the end of your activations to get a high threat in your opponent's face, while maybe even line of sight blocking for some of your other stuff like your ARC troopers. The laser cannon provides a really good anti-armor option, as that can be a sorely lacking area for your GAR units. But for the most part, making it either 70 or 75 points, it's not exactly the best value in the game, but it's pretty freaking good. On the other side of that, the armor 2 helps out a lot, keeping these guys alive behind red saves and 6 wounds. The main thing is that they can't share tokens. They don't have very good synergy with the rest of the faction. You can make some Cody lists with this, but we've seen something else that maybe works better. BARC speeders are up next, and you've got a couple different options you can bring with them. Coming in at a smooth 65 points, they're speed 3 naturally, arsenal 2, cover 1, speeder 1, 1 black dice in range 1 to 3, and then a rainbow at 1 to 3 as well, fixed front. 5 health, break at 3, they surge to hit, not to defend on red dice. These guys have a couple different weapon options. First up is the BARC Ion Rifle. It reduces your maximum speed by 1, as well as the 2 other heavy weapons upgrades. Gives it critical 1, impact 1, and ion 1, also fixed front. You can bring the RPS, which is not fixed front, but is range 2 to 4. Just a rainbow with impact 2. And then you got BARC twin lasers for 2 white, 2 black, fixed front at range 1 to 3. Respectively, 25 points for ion, 18 for RPS, and 15 for the twin laser gun. I think that BARCs had their time, and I think that time's over. I think cover 1 is not good on speeders. I wish that there was a way to give these guys cover. Maybe that makes them a little too good. BARCs are probably one of the better speeder options, just because behind red saves they can take some hits, but I don't think these guys are going to hang around as much, and I think that 10-point increase going from 55 to 65 did really hurt these guys' playability. You want big dice pools, and you can achieve that with a very cheap 18-point RPS or even an even cheaper 15-point twin laser gunner. But I think the more upgrades you put on these guys, the worse they get, because if I see something with one of these upgrades that costs 83 points and it's only got 5 wounds, I'm probably going to target it, and without true cover, there's going to be a lot of times you see these BARCs disappear faster than you want to. For 65 points, they are one of the cheaper options for GAR to just have an objective unit, but I don't know. I don't really feel like I've seen a ton of BARCs be successful compared to some of our other support options, and they just, once again, don't synergize with anything. You can't fire support into them, you can't share tokens with them. It's just kind of a sum nothing unit, and so for me, I think they're a C-. I think they've fallen off from their glory days. I think that 5 wounds is great behind red dice, and they won't just disappear off the table like some other speeders, but at the same time, they just don't really bring anything to the table. They're just okay at everything. They're okay at offense, okay at defense, decent at objectives, but with speed 2, that can hurt you as well. If you give them an important mission token like destroy enemy base, I'm more than happy to shoot this thing off the table. And yeah, maybe you roll hot, but maybe you don't as well. And they're just one of those units that with 5 wounds and giving them a heavy weapons upgrade, you don't increase the amount of wounds you get. You know, like if you bring a clone infantry and give it a shotgun, you at least get 1 more model as well. In this case, your threshold for killing this thing is still 5 wounds and breaking at 3. So I feel like the cheaper these guys are, the better they are, and they're less cheap now that they're 65. In this game as well, speeders can be good, but I think that cover 1 can massively hurt you. Moving on, we have Clone Commandos with Complete the Mission, Equip Catan Pattern Armor, very good. You can pop it to essentially reduce any ranged attack wound that you may have taken down to 1. Even if you take 20, it's still 1. You got Infiltrate, Recharge 1, Shielded 1, Target 1, 2 black and melee, a white and black at range 1 to 2. And then their other upgrade is their gun, which is also very solid. The DC 17. One side is 2 black at range 1 to 2 apiece with Impact 1 and Scatter. You may also flip it over at the beginning of their activation to get the other side, which is a sniper with 1 red apiece, high velocity, and may also spend an aim to make it lethal 1. Commandos, just like ARC Troopers, are extremely versatile. They have anti-armor, they have long-range shooting, they have a weapon that you can use while you're moving and shooting. Their Complete the Mission token gives them Surge to defend when they're at range 1, and Critical 1 when an enemy unit is at range 1 of a token. The more of these guys, the merrier, and so that's kind of my main downside with them, is that you really want to bring more so you can utilize those tokens. If you only have 1 Clone Commando and 1 token, it's harder to get your Surge to defend and Critical 2, because obviously you would have to be at range 1 of the enemy with that token and yourself. So the more the merrier with Clone Commandos, but they've got 1 health apiece and 2 wounds at speed 2, coming in at 4 models. My big issue with these guys is they are one of the most expensive units per model. Catan armor makes that feel much better. Even Shielded 1 and Surge to defend can make them feel like an unkillable unit, but man, can they get countered. This is a Force user's dream or a melee unit's dream to charge into in just 1 shot. These guys come in at 90 points. Now, I'm not going to tell you they're bad because that would be lying to you, but I do think they are beatable, and I think against certain lists, they actually struggle to make up for the amount of points you're paying for these guys. Catan armor is disgusting at range, useless in melee. Same thing with shields. They're a really good anti-ranged unit and can do a lot of damage close up as well, but they themselves do not want to get into melee. It is an absolute necessity that you avoid that at all costs, and with this current version of the game, not exactly always possible. 90 points is not cheap, and you can always think of it, if you put like HQ uplink on these dudes, as 25 points per model, and that is absolutely insane. But they can share tokens, generate tokens with orders, and the Complete the Mission, Catan armor, Infiltrate, all of these keywords are fantastic. Once again, a very versatile unit, just like ARC Troopers, but they do not quite have that same level of versatility, as they can't really keep up with everything in the game like ARC Troopers can. So I think these guys are straight up an A-. I don't think they're bad, but I do think they have some very unfavorable matchups. And 90 points is no easy asking price for one of the most expensive factions in the game. I'll go ahead and talk about Delta real quick as well. They have Recharge 1, Shielded 1, meaning they're going to bring shields back naturally with Independent Recover. Target 2, if they do get an order. They have Unlimited Courage, which is pretty cool, and then everything else remains the same. With these guys, I think coming in at 105 points, they're just a little worse. I'm not saying they're bad. I think they're actually a really cool unit and very thematic to the squad, but they're just more expensive, and they still want orders just like the other ones and maybe an HQ uplink. And I just don't think at 105 points, this is an amazing unit. I'm giving the Delta Squad version a straight up B, and I know that's a grade lower, or rather 2 grades lower, but I just think for the price here, they can be a little hefty and they feel even worse when someone counters them. I will gladly send a Force User into a 105 point Delta squad to eat up a chunk of your army, or rather 1/10 of your army now, to make up for these things, but they can be some aggressive backliners, fantastic at holding certain objectives against certain lists, but once again, these guys shiver at the idea of melee combat, especially when they have Pierce. Next up is the NASP Fluttercraft. I won't be honest with you, out of all the units in the game, this is the one I have the least amount of experience with. This is one of the only models I just straight up do not own, but I have played against it a good chunk of times. Now, to be clear, this is the generic one that you can run in generic GAR, which is the repulsor vehicle. It's got cover 2, immune blast, melee weapon, and range 1 weapons, reposition, speeder 2. 6 wounds, breaks at 3, white dice on surging defense and surging offense, has a generic black and white pistol at range 1 to 2. Its upgrades is the NASP Bombardier, which is overrun 2, suppressive 2 red 2 white. And then on the other side of things, you can bring the Gunner, which is fixed rear, impact 1, pierce 1, 2 red, 2 black. I think you obviously have to bring these guys with an upgrade. The Bombardier is interesting because it's pretty cool, it's pretty thematic. And then the NASP Gunner is pretty cool as well because you can essentially do 360 no-scopes the entire game. And I have respect for that. However, I don't have respect for 6 health white defense dice. And on top of that, coming in at a cool 70 points is the cheapest. I'm just going to go back to the Rebel ATR, or not Rebel, I wish it was Rebel, the GAR ATRT any day of the week. They are cool because they have good maneuverability. They can move around quite a bit, but they just can't hide. They're never really going to be able to be hidden unless you get some really unique terrain. So I always feel like these guys are an available target. It's hard to outplay your opponents with them because they're just always something to shoot at. They're always in the sky. Everybody can see them. Everybody can shoot them. It's nice when your opponent can't use their big range 1, impact nades or Vader sabering them, anything like that. So they can sometimes stick around depending on what you're playing against, but I just think they're a juicy target for just about anything in the game. Cover 2 is nice and I respect it. I don't have enough experience to call them trash, but I will say that I'm not scared of them and never have I had a problem against them. They've always just felt like a target-rich environment unit that sometimes does a little bit, but their offensive output does not equal their defensive output. I would think of them as glass cannons, but they don't really perform that job very well. So I just don't think they match that points cost in damage because they most certainly don't do that in defense. So I'm just going to give these guys a straight up C-. I would probably put them lower if I had played them myself, but I have seen them find some success in certain lists, and more importantly, once again, Kashyyyk Defenders is an example that would probably knock them up. So that's our supports. Moving on to heavy, we have an infamous unit, and this is probably going to be the most controversial one I've talked about thus far, and that is the infantry support platform. Coming in at a cool 65 points, it's got a couple pilots with the 327th pilot. Everyone gets an observation token that gets hit for 8 points. Clone Shock Trooper pilot, essentially after an attack, unit in range 1 of this unit can get a surge token. And then Veteran Cone pilot essentially lets you token share for once, 1 instance. And then we have 3 heavy weapons upgrades. The Twin Beam with beam 2, 2 red, 2 white at range 1 to 4. The Twin Plaster Cannons with 6 black. You can gunslinger this bad boy and make it critical 1 apiece, or critical 2 if you keep the whole dice pool together. And then Twin Missile Pods at range 2 to 4. You have an impact 2 weapon. Once again, you can gunslinger, split up the keyword to make it 2 dice red, impact 1, 2 dice red, impact 1. Now, here's my controversial statement. I don't think these things are that good. I know they won a world championship. Completely respect that. Once again, I think that list is a labor of love, not pure amazing units. Nothing against it. That makes it that much more impressive of a win, but I don't think infantry support platforms are that good. I think they were good against what he was running into, which was armor. In the grand scheme of Legion, I give the infantry support platform, I really want to say a C+. But with the price tag of 90 points with the twin missile pods or any of the other upgrades, man, I want to give it a C+. I'm giving it a C+. You're just going to have to deal with it. you could argue in the Bs, but I do not think it's an A+ unit. I just don't think it's that scary. Armor 3 is very nice. 7 health, surging white defense dice. I just think you can take it off the table. I don't know. I've played against these things, and I've just never felt like their offensive capability with 4 red dice has impressed me or done anything against me. But I guess with the meta of Legion, you could easily call them a B- unit in your mind. I just haven't ever had an experience where I'm like, oh no, it's an ISP. It's usually like, why is there an ISP? I don't know. I don't know. If you say B-, I can completely agree with you. But from personal experience, I really don't think this unit is that crazy. I think it's solid. I'm not calling it bad. I think it's solid and above average for sure. But I think it was more successful because of the things it was running into. In the grand scheme of Legion, it's just not that amazing. And that's mostly because it's throwing minimum dice for its cost. Why not just take an ATRT at 70 points to throw 3 dice with Impact 3? I don't know. Red defense dice sounds better. Armor 2 is close enough to Armor 3. That's just how I feel about it. Maybe I'm wrong. If you feel like you've been playing ISPs really well as well, I want to know about it and just know that I'm wrong and there's some awesome new trend with ISPs showing up in everyone's tournaments. But like I said, I really just think that list is a labor of love that won world champions, and I just don't feel like ISPs are that scary. But I could be completely underrating them. I just haven't found success with them, nor have I ever ran into one and said, man, that thing tore me up. Next up is the LAATLE Patrol Transport with Armor 5, Arsenal 2, Cover 1, Hover Air 2, Immune Blast, Melee, Range 1 weapons, and it has Transport. 2 red, 2 black, at range 1 to 3 with Impact 1, 8 health, 6 it breaks, white defense dice, surging. It's got the same pilots as the last. The only inclusion here is Hound and Grizzler, which gives it Observe 4. And then it also has Field Commander with Commander Fox. Choosing a friendly unit is a free action to give a surge and remove a suppression. And then, yeah, it's got the Clone Shock Trooper pilot and the Veteran Clone pilot as well. It doesn't have that other observation token one. You can bring all the missiles with it, armor piercing, bunker buster, high energy shells, giving it another option for that Arsenal 2 to be useful. Coming in at 100 points, not bad for its price, honestly. I do like the price reduction. But once again, this just feels like one of those units that's just, it's always available to shoot because it's just floating in the sky. This one's even worse because it's transport, so it's trying to usually deliver something to the opponent's side. I think it's fine. This is another one of those units that I just don't play, but I have played against a bunch, and I've just, Empire or GAR doesn't really seem to do anything other than get someone closer to my lines. And now that transport's different, I think it got worse, but the points change made it better, so go figure. Armor 5 is nice. Completely respect that. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's good either. I'm gonna give it a C-. I know some people probably find some really niche lists and they're like, I'm gonna give this an order and deliver it. But once again, this thing just has no synergy with actual GAR units besides maybe some observation tokens for Cody. But this thing is going to go into enemy fire very quickly if you're truly trying to deliver something. Yes, Armor 5 may keep it alive, but more likely you're going to see this thing get shot off the table very quickly. And it's not exactly cheap, which nothing is in GAR, but if you're bringing white saves that can't share tokens and really synergize with anything other than delivering something a little bit up the board, it's just not exactly my favorite. The Saber class tank is our last unit for GAR overall. It's got Armor 5, Arsenal 2. It has Hover Ground, Outmaneuver, Weak Point 1 on the rear and sides. 9 health, red defense dice, breaks at 6, surges to hit, not to defend, has a basic double rainbow, critical 1, impact 2 at range 1 to 4, heavy laser cannons, and it's got some pilot options as well. Those pilot options are going to be Ayla Secura, making it a Field Commander Inspire 2, Clone Shock Trooper Pilot, the Surge 1 at range 1, Plo Koon's going to give it Agile 2 as an action, or sorry, free action until the end of its activation, which will need to be refreshed. Then it's got the Clone Veteran Pilot, once again allowing you to share with other clones, and so on and so forth. Next up, its heavy weapons is the Beam Turret, which is 2 red at range 1 to 4, Beam 2. And then the twin laser turret, just giving it another 3 dice at range 1 to 3, critical 1. It also has access to all the missiles if you'd like to kit it out as well, but reminder, it only has Arsenal 2. Saber tank, very expensive. Well, let me rephrase that. Expensive for GAR. Said this 100 times, get used to it. 155 points, it's cheaper than it used to be. I actually like the Saber tank. I think some people need to try it out more. I think it's a fantastic objective unit for things like intercept, so we can just sit there and take it. But for the most part, because we kind of lost the Padme, Anakin, and Yoda sharing tokens and dodges, it's a little hard to use that outmaneuver keyword. However, I think things like Cody with take cover and just giving it a dodge and himself can be really annoying. I think the Saber tank's a solid unit. My main thing is it just kind of expensive for what it does. For 155 points, I kind of would rather have a Jedi with force push and can carry a token and do some objective stuff. This thing is a literal tank, and that's what it does. It takes hits and it deals out some good damage, hopefully, but it can also fail that pretty hard. Pairing this with Cody and things like that can make it pretty high up. I've actually painted up a pretty sweet Saber tank that I pretty proud of. I like him. He's a pretty cool little guy. Where's he at? I was gonna show him to you. I can't find him. I give up. Anyways, Saber tank though, super cool unit. I think it's very thematic too. It's one of those cool GAR units that I see on the table. I'm like, oh, someone's got a Saber tank. That's awesome. The heavy weapons make it pretty sustainable. I think it's a little underrated, but I'm also going to feel bad if I put it over the ISP. So I'm going to give it the C+. I think it deserves that as well. It's just a little too many points in GAR to put into something that just moves and shoots. And yes, it's 9 wounds with armor 5 and everything, and it can be very hard to kill, but do not underestimate the fact that it has weak point sides and rear. This is one of those tanks that you can do some damage to pretty quick if you just focus on it for a turn. It seems pretty scary and unkillable because you're like, oh man, armor 5 and red saves and clones. Oh, this is going to be brutal. Oh, it's got outmaneuver too. And then you run into like a Black Sun unit with a shotgun and impact nades, and they just walk to the side and do like 7 wounds to it. There are definitely some things that can put the Saber tank in a world of hurt, and if your saves are not on point, this thing can eat your points up quickly while not giving you the necessities of offense in return. So it just sitting on a point taking a bunch of shots is great sometimes, but on other cases it can die, and it will die. So the objective play can be very basic and very predictable, which I think makes it very counterintuitive sometimes. With that being said, you guys let me know. This is the first set of rankings. Once again, my word is not law. If you're like, Colton, you're an idiot, this ISP is the best thing on the planet, hey, that's awesome. Tell me what list you're playing. Show me what you're doing, because I want to learn as a competitive player too. But for those of you that are looking for a baseline to look at what units that I believe and I have seen succeed and meet these requirements, once again, could cost efficiency, promoting your chances of winning, and synergizing with your army, these are the things that I'm looking for as a competitive player to increase my chances of winning. And sometimes, even as a casual sense, we want units that do what they're supposed to do. It's not always about learning these grades and things as such just because we want to win every game. We want to know what units actually feel like they're supposed to. Sometimes I have a hard time playing the Saber tank because it doesn't feel like a tank. It just gets shot off the table, or it doesn't even kill a B1 unit. Stuff like that can be kind of saddening. And so people sometimes just want to know what units match these requirements to better fit the feeling and expectation they want on the table for their favorite units. But with that being said, keep your pocketbook open because we got some cool stuff coming for you in Legion. And next time we talk, we'll talk about our favorite faction that's a little bit less Empire. Dun, 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 dun.